Welcome to the Successful Encore Career Podcast, a podcast of employment for seniors. This episode is being brought to you by Nationwide Insurance, Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, Age-Friendly Columbus and Franklin County, Thompson Hine, RiseSmart, and Circle 270 Media. It's Senior Career Expo time. That's coming up this year, August 29th, 2019, again at the Ohio State University's Fawcett Center. It's a fun time of year, really. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun because we see a lot accomplished during that day.
We do. And this is really my favorite time of the year, Brett, because I love doing the expo. We have a good time. It's a great sense of adventure. It's a journey for people. So it's a time for us to really get going, but we want people to be successful. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Well, it seems like the very first thing we need to discuss is why should anybody go to a job fair? I mean, many people complain that they didn't get a job at the job fair and it was a waste of time. So tell us about the benefits of attending a job fair right out the gate.
Excellent question. One other thing, too, one of the folks that come to our office, they say, well, I can never get my foot in the door. So here's a job fair. We're going to have 60 to 70 employers who are looking for you, looking for mature job seekers. So over and above everything else in terms of benefits of a job fair is it's a ready-made opportunity to be interviewed. And so, again, that's why we want to talk about the great benefits and this, how to be successful. When people go to a job fair, they immediately think they're going to get a job. And that's really not necessarily the end product. It's an adventure. It's a research opportunity. It's a time to collect as much information as you can. But clients tell me that they're just intimidated by going to job fairs. And I can understand because you're really walking through a room of strangers. And if you're not feeling comfortable or not feeling self-confident, it's awful. I often tell folks that I can't even remember how many times I have seen people walk in the door, look at this sea of strangers, and literally turn around and walk right back out. And you want to prepare yourself, but you want to go there and just enjoy it. It really is critical. Preparation really is critical. So
you should feel more comfortable in this setting than any other job fair that's in this market because those job fairs have every age group available.
Exactly.
That should be more intimidating than this.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, I've actually been to job fairs where young couples bring in children. You want to talk about being intimidated when you've got some kid running around and you're trying to be the professional in the room. It really is. Everybody there's got gray hair. It's not an issue of looking older because we're all in the same boat. So absolutely. And again, that's why I really love the expo. It's my favorite event of what we do. But a job fair allows you to meet the employers face to face, have a pleasant, productive conversation with them. What participants need to remember, this is a series of mini interviews. So it is a formal process. You go dressed for success. You come with lots of copies of your resume. And what you are going to try to do is to tell the employer your work story. So the next issue, really, after knowing you're going to be able to meet all these employers face to face, is you're going to learn more about them. You can go to the website. You can look and see how pretty it is and how many pictures are on it, but you're not going to necessarily get the full picture. And so going to the job fair is going to allow you to get more information. The job fair information that an employer is going to give you, it includes the details. So you may have a question on the culture of the place or what their priorities are. Do they do community advocacy? Are they good at reaching out to different organizations? Do they partner with different organizations? So those are the kinds of questions you might want to ask them. But I always caution clients that when you're preparing for a job fair, don't assume that you know everything about the company. Utilize the job fair as an opportunity to get as much information as you can. The one last benefit that you want to think about at a job fair, you're out there, you're looking at meeting all these employers. Again, Don't make any assumptions. Go and talk to them. You want to have a priority list of who your top 5 or 6 employers that you definitely want to talk to. But if there's an employer who's there, nobody's talking to them, take an opportunity to network with that employer. You may not be interested in ABC Corporation, but the recruiter that is there for that employer may know somebody who does need you. They may know somebody who's hiring that in your neighborhood. You never know. Or they may not have a job that you're interested in right now, but they may remember you and think in 6 months from now, oh, I got this job. I remember that person. They came up and they started talking to me. They were friendly. They were informative. They'd be perfect in this position. You never know. They may just give you a call.
And you mentioned that 6 months in advance, too. I want to reinforce that in the listener's mind, too. We're not saying that you'll still be unemployed in 6 months. It could be that you found a job in that day. But in 6 months down the road, that person you talk to remembers you, and it's a better job opportunity for you.
Exactly.
So it's not we're saying that, hold your breath, that maybe that networking opportunity that you experienced at the job fair will land, possibly that person will remember you in 6 months and then you get the job. No, it could be another offer that you
can't pass up.
You can't pass up because
Right.
you already have a job. So it's we're not meaning that at all.
No, and networking is a long-term game. So what you're networking today may not come to fruition until into the future, whether it's 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever. But networking is critical. And particularly in Columbus, we really are a small community. We all know each other. And this is an opportunity for you to find people and talk to people and meet people that you didn't know before. You may have mutual contacts, mutual friends. So you just want to utilize a job fair to expand your network.
Right.
Okay.
Now you've talked about participants who come prepared for a job fair are likely more successful. Maybe we should unpack that word prepared a bit more, because I know in the past, and I'm thinking recent past, prepared can mean you look good and bring a really good looking resume.
Right.
There's more to that.
Oh, absolutely. I had just mentioned a minute ago that you want to have the top employers that you definitely want to talk to. If we have 60 or 70 employers at our job fair and only 4 hours, you're not going to get through all of those folks. With preparation, which is a little bit of research, a little bit of homework, you can hone in on definitely who you want to talk to, and then maybe a second tier of people and a third tier of people. The objective is not to walk into the ballroom at Fawcett Center and see 60 tables and just go up and down the line.
Right.
Because you're following everybody else who's going up and down the line. What you want to do is be strategic. But to be strategic, you got to prepare yourself. So first thing you want to do is really, in your head, clarify your goals. What do you want to do? Is it that you are looking for new contacts at this event? Are you absolutely looking for a job, or are you just doing some career research because you're looking to transition? Maybe you're going to be retiring, but you don't know what you want to do next. This is an opportunity to talk to people. The next thing you really have to do, and this is kind of critical, is to be focused. Do you need part-time? Do you have to have full-time? Can you deal with part-time? Even if you have to have full-time, can you start out? Because starting with a company is an opportunity. What is your schedule? How far are you willing to go in terms of geography? If you're living in Hilliard and you're not going to want to drive to Gahanna, or if you're living in Westerville, Grove City's not on your list. So you just want to make sure that you strategically know all of this information ahead of time, because the most important thing is that you are making your own decisions. When you go up to an employer, you don't say, I'll do anything. I can do anything. What do you have? I just need a job. The employer's not going to make those decisions for you. They're going to start asking you, do you need full-time? Do you need part-time? You've got to have those answers for them. So I keep talking about research. Identify the companies that are going to be at that job fair. 9 times out of 10, whoever's running the job fair is going to have a list of those companies. Now, be prepared, because they may not put that list up until the last minute. It may be the day before and you're scrambling to look through that list. We try to get our list up and we put a link to their website so you can get directly to the employer. it's really important to look at those and take a quick look. The first step may be just an overall look at their website. The second step is what jobs do they actually have posted. But don't assume two things when you're looking at those postings. Don't assume that every job they have posted, the recruiter's really looking for. They're coming to a job fair with a goal in mind. There may be an accountant position on that website, but that recruiter may not be looking for the accountant. That doesn't mean they're not looking for an accountant in general. That recruiter may not know about it. And the other flip side of that is because it's not on their website doesn't mean they're not looking. You really want to try to get an idea of, is this a company I'd like to look at and I'd like to work for? And then you start talking about what those opportunities are. Prepare a list of questions that you can ask the employer. You want to have a good conversation with them, so you got to have some stuff to talk about because they're going to run out of things to say to people after 4 hours.
And it doesn't have to be a tome. It could be 3 questions.
No. Oh, absolutely.
Three questions that you got from your research that you just went to the website for.
Right. So one of the an example of a question is, get more into detail on the skills for a particular position. So a lot of positions are pretty easy, but say the position is a logistics position and you want to know a little bit more about the computer programs that they use or what are the other types of equipment that may be in need. You just want to make sure you're on the right path.
Well, it could be a question too. You brought this up too, and this has been off podcast recording, is you see the listing as proficient in Word.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ask them specifically, what does proficient
in
mean?
Word mean?
Or Excel or whatever,
right.
that their Microsoft product they're talking about. Why not ask them? What does proficient mean? Right,
exactly. Because a position description may say proficient in Word, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I have to be able to type 1,000 words a minute and know every possible little tiny thing that Word will do. When in actuality, they want to know, can you open it? Can you create a new one? And can you type? You just don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know.
Yeah.
That word proficient may have a whole lot more about what the employer can't do, and they want to make sure you can do for them, than that you have to be perfect at something. Prepare your resume. Oh my gosh, you have got to make sure other people look at your resume. Do not go with a resume that someone else has not looked at. We don't see our own mistakes. I don't see my mistakes. You have got to have other people look. Little typos, wrong uses of words, the word there and the word there. Those kinds of issues come up all the time. And don't tell an employer you're a great communicator when you got typos on your resume. It just is, you kind of shot yourself in the foot. So you have to make sure that you've got a good resume, and there are places to go that you can get resume assistance. If you're not here in Columbus, call the local library. They may have information. Call other agencies in town, and we all kind of know each other, so we'll be able to direct you to where you can go. Have your little elevator speech, your 1-minute commercial about you. And it's not something that you have to memorize word for word. Practice it in your head. But the whole idea is you're walking up to a recruiter or to a networking contact, and it's a stranger. You want to be able to have a good conversation. So give them a little bit of information about yourself, and you can walk through that conversation and be comfortable. And then, there's always other things going on at the job fair, such as workshops and resume reviewers, those kinds of things. So take advantage of all of those kinds of things. One of the things we've begun to do at our job fair is to have a photographer there taking headshots. So you can get a professional headshot for your LinkedIn profile. You're coming dressed for success, so you're going to have a great picture. It was so much fun last year when we did that.
So all that's great advice. I can envision walking into the event. It's scary. You may not even know the lay of the land, but you've done a little bit of research. You've maybe been in Fawcett before, but all of a sudden it hits you.
Right.
You're walking in. This is it. It's showtime. What do you do now?
Right. We're not only just talking about 60 or 70 employers. You're talking about hundreds of other participants, and you're like, oh my gosh, am I in competition with all these people? No, you're not. You're in competition with yourself to make sure you are the best possible candidate that you can be. Get excited. Be positive. always think of a job fair as a learning experience. You are going to get information. Don't think of it as competition. Don't think of it as, if I walk out of here without a job, I'm not successful. That is not where you're going. Your success is going to be determined by the information you get, the more steps you can take after that day, the more companies you found, the more applications you can fill out. Those are the kinds of things that you want to do. But as I mentioned, don't forget, dress appropriately, particularly the top half. It's where people are looking, making sure, but you're comfortable. Ladies, don't get in 4-inch heels if you are not going to be able to walk through Fawcett because it's going to look really bad. So we want you to show up at our Senior Career Expo, ready, excited, willing to talk to all of those employers, have your elevator speech ready, dress appropriately. Be very careful, ladies. Heels don't work when you're walking around all day long. Gentlemen, ties and shirt. You want to be giving your best impression. A first impression only happens once, so be ready for your great first impression. Don't arrive too early. Don't arrive at the last minute because the employers will be leaving. And make sure that you take a few minutes, look at the map, find the employers that you're looking for who are your top target employers. Make sure you bring lots of copies of your resume. You can't always go to a job fair and expect to be able to get copies. And if you only come with one, what do you do when you talk to the second employer? You have to have copies of your resume. You also want to make sure that you get some kind of information from the employer, possibly their business card, or write down some information quickly about who the employer is and how you can contact them, because that's important to do your follow-up. The other thing, too, is be cognizant of what's going on around you. If you're having a good conversation with an employer, that's great. But if there's a line of 10 people behind you, that employer is going to lose interest. They're going to lose your train of thought in what's going on in the conversation because they know they have 9 more people behind you to talk to. So basically, don't wear out your welcome. But I did mention just a bit ago, too, if you see an employer that nobody's talking to, go up and talk to them and say hi. You never know. It may just be the perfect contact that you never could have had an opportunity to meet and to talk to if you hadn't taken that chance and gone up and talked to somebody.
Well, it sounds like a job fair can be a great opportunity for a job seeker if they're prepared, they're ready to come in, and they're ready for it. So, how do you ensure your time is well spent, and what should you do after the event as well?
And that's true. You don't just go in and talk to them and then that's the end of the story. It's the same as if you were going to an interview, you want to follow up. If you're doing an application, you want to follow up. You want the employer to know that, yes, you are really, really interested in them. And when I say to do your first follow-up after a job fair, make sure you have carved out some time because you've got to do it literally that day. Get a note in the mail to them, an email in to them, and make sure that they know that, yes, you are truly interested. What we have suggested often is that you can do an email, but to follow it up with a note. And people are still saying, which is amazing to me, a handwritten note says something. It says you are truly committed and interested. It does not say, oh, you don't know how to use technology, because you've already emailed them. But if sending a handwritten note or sending a typed cover letter and another copy of your resume gives you an opportunity to again state your work story, mention something that you talked about with them, connect them back so they remember who you are, because they're not going to remember. If they are seeing literally hundreds of people, you got to do something to get your name back up to the top of that list. If they tell you to fill out an online application, do it right away. If you wait, you could, again, hundreds of people there. You're going to be hundreds of people down if you don't get those online applications in. But basically, keep in contact. The first follow-up is within 24 hours. The second follow-up is a week or so away. You can do a third follow-up, wait 2, maybe 3 weeks, and do a third follow-up. After that, you probably don't want to keep following up. Then it gets to be a little bad. But you want to make sure that you're keeping in contact. Check their website, see if there's anything new. Check their news press releases. If there's something in the newspaper, what you're trying to do, you can mention those things in a letter or an email or a phone call message, and you can say, oh, I saw you in the newspaper. Again, it connects you and your interest to that employer. There are a couple of new tips, Brett, that we've not really talked with clients about, but we're hearing this more and more from employers, and I really thought that this was an opportunity to get this across to the clients. And this happened to me. I had a client who was looking for help, and through the grapevine, I heard there was some difficulty in an application she did. She wasn't hearing back from the employer, which I thought was a little strange. And so I called her to see if I could touch base. Well, guess what? Her voicemail message box was full. So if an employer did try to get a hold of her on the phone, they couldn't get through to her. And guess what? They're going to go to the next client. They are not going to drop everything and try to call them again or try to find another phone number or maybe send an email. If their process that they've set up is, these are the 10 people I'm going to call and I want to talk to 5 of them here in my office, and that person didn't answer, that's the end of that story. So watch your voicemail box. Make sure it's available for people to leave you a message. Make sure the message on your voicemail box is a professional message. You know, I know you want to tell people to have a blessed day, but guess what? An employer may be offended by that. You want to make sure that your email address is a good email address, a professional email address. Sam's grandma at gmail.com is not a professional email address. So you think of something else. The other thing that's happening, and it's amazing to me, you're hearing it on the news and the newspaper, people are ghosting. Sounds strange. But what's happening is an employer will literally call a dozen people and 2 call them back. Or they'll set up 5 interviews and only 1 or 2 people show up. Or what's even worse, someone will accept a job and then not bother to show up for work. I am hoping my mature job seekers are not doing that. I have a feeling it's happening, and because we're starting to hear it from employers. Have the respect for individuals, have respect for yourself. There is nothing wrong with calling and saying, I am really sorry, I'm not interested in the job anymore, but I hope that you and I can have a conversation later. End of story. Just leave the message. If you've taken a job and then you've gotten another offer, use it as a negotiation time. Don't just walk away from a job offer, because guess what? If the job you go to doesn't work out, don't think you're going back to that other employer. They are not going to be interested that your other position did not work out. That is your problem.
Right.
So, the ghosting is just so unprofessional. And it's literally childish. We are adults. This is a formal process. Stand up for yourself, be respectful of others, and show up. And if you're having difficulty or you don't know what to talk to the employer, call me. I'll help you come up with the language, but don't do that. That's so unfair. So that's my tip, my new tip.
Almost a soapbox.
Yeah,
it's like, don't do this. Come on.
I know. It's when I started hearing that, I thought, we tell employers we have mature job seekers. Mature does not just mean you're older. Yeah. Mature means you have been in professional positions. You want to be treated like a professional, then you have to act like a professional.
Right. And each generation has its own problems anyway.
Sure.
So, if this ghosting, it tends to be a Gen X or a millennial thing, let's not let it creep into the mature generation.
Exactly. Well, we've been hearing about it with younger people, but then we're starting to hear about it with middle-agers and baby boomers, and this is not right. I mean, it is just not right. And I'll tell you the truth, if somebody does that to me, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, strike 3. Yeah. So there are a few other added benefits to our Career Expo. Let's go over them.
Oh, we have so much fun. If nothing else, it's just a great time to network with other people. As I mentioned, we're going to have probably 70 or so employers there. I already mentioned, too, that we're going to do the professional headshots. Our photographer is going to be there. He takes great pictures. I mean, everybody looks wonderful. And we also will have a whole set of career search workshops. We have a new one this year. Again, it's going to be about positive attitudes and how you can be a successful job seeker because you're really focusing in and understanding what you're trying to achieve. We'll talk about transferable skills. We'll talk about resumes. We'll talk about LinkedIn. Lots of stuff is going on. Our employer panel is going to have a little bit different twist to it this year. We always have a panel of employers doing questions and answers from the audience. But the theme this year is going to be the candidate an employer needs. That's what you always want to keep in the back of your mind. You're going to get hired when you can prove to an employer you are exactly what they need. We're also going to have resume reviewers to give you resume advice. So it's a packed day. So come at 9 o'clock, be prepared to spend the whole day with us. So.
And I think a lot of people who have grown up in the Central Ohio area and never been out of the area that don't realize that this career fair is really pretty unique.
It is.
Not many communities, cities, areas, counties, I don't care where you're looking at, has something like this that's very targeted to older adults, mature workforce that you're not mixed in with a millennial and a Gen X and any other age group like we mentioned earlier that's bringing a family in. These employers are looking for you.
Right. And there are other organizations that have tried to do job fairs that are targeted to older adults. The one big advantage we have on our job fair is the employers who are there are employers we're working with all year long. This isn't a one and done. These are employers that we post jobs for on a regular basis that are cognizant of who our clients are and their capabilities, that they know they can call us. A client knows they can call us if there's a question or an issue. And so this is a huge connection in your network. So it's not just showing up and talking to 20 or 30 or 40 employers. This is, twice the number of employers who are truly looking for you.
Any additional contact information from you, from Employing for Seniors, if the listener wants a little bit more information?
Absolutely. They can always contact the office at 614-863-1219. We still have some room, but employers, if you're out there, you want to get your table pretty quickly because they're going to be going fast over the next month. And the website is www.employseniors.org. And on our website, you'll have information on the Career Expo, both for the employers and for participants. We're going to be posting the information on the workshops. We'll be posting information on Fawcett Center and parking. We will be having information for the employers. So, and we'll also have the employers list closer to the event. The other thing that you might want to think about is we do a little get ready for the job fair, kind of hold each other's hand and rah, we're ready at the beginning. So I usually get around and start talking to the participants about 8:30 just to kind of answer any questions and make sure that you're ready to go and meet those employers. Do not be intimidated. I have more than once taken a client into the job fair and introduced them to a recruiter that I know to get them started. And the recruiters love it. So don't be intimidated. If you need somebody to hold your hand for the first few minutes, I'm more than happy to do that.